I, like many people, have been frustrated with the MCU Phase 4. It's felt pretty much aimless. Yes, they're introducing a lot of the multiverse stuff, but what's the end game of all this? What the hell is it all for? If we're not going to get a big damn Avengers movie, it sounded like at one point Kevin Feige was talking about there wouldn't be an Avengers movie. Well, it turns out that is not the case because they had their Hall H panel for San Diego Comic-Con, and there were a ton of announcements all the way out to like 2025. In fact, they mapped out phases 5 and 6 of the MCU, how they're going to rack and stack. Obviously, it's not going to play out exactly like that because these things always do change within the production schedules. But this is a good idea of what the future of the MCU is and what the end game is. And it's a couple of more Avengers movies coming out in 2025. Now, we do still have to conclude Phase 4 of the MCU. And we now have a designator of the period of time we're in. I guess retroactively, all of phases 1, 2, and 3 were like the Infinity Saga, and now we're in the Multiverse Saga. Does that do anything to move the needle or get me excited about the MCU because now there's a designator for this era, I guess? Absolutely not. I could care less what they want to call it. You could call it the Multiverse Saga. You could call it the Kevin Feige Saga, whatever. And before phases 5 and 6, Marvel will conclude Phase 4 with the She-Hulk Attorney at Law series on August 17th and Black Panther Wakanda Forever on November 11th. Despite all the announcements about Phases 5 and 6, there's still several projects that have yet to receive release dates, including Shang-Chi 2, Deadpool number 3, and the untitled X-Men film. On the TV side, we are still waiting for the dates on Armor Wars, Nova, Wonder Man, and an untitled series based in Wakanda. Obviously, Deadpool 3 feels like a big moneymaker. Is it going to be the first rated R MCU movie? Kind of feels like it kind of has to be at this point with the first 2 Deadpool movies. We've also got that Armor Wars series coming up, Don Cheadle as War Machine. I think that has a lot of potential. I really like Armor Wars in the comic books. I like Don Cheadle as an actor, and I like War Machine. That character's been massively misused within the MCU, and I can't wait to see that character get some more spotlight and some shine. The untitled X-Men film is kind of the cloud hanging over all of this. We're all waiting on that one. And hopefully the rumors that it's going to be called the Mutants because of Victoria Alonso's comments from the past do not come to fruition. It's actually an X-Men movie. Perhaps we'll get those details at D23 because they have another 2-hour panel talking about the future of the Star Wars movies and the MCU coming up in just a few short weeks. So that could be very exciting. Speaking of Wakanda Forever, during Marvel Studios' Hall H panel at San Diego Comic-Con, the studio released a trailer for Wakanda Forever. The footage provided a look at Dominic Thorne as Riri Williams, Tina Huerta as Namor, blue-skinned Atlanteans, and teased a new person wearing the Black Panther suit. It was not immediately clear from the footage who that might be. While people's impressions of trailers, I guess, is subjective, I was not overly impressed with the Black Panther Wakanda Forever trailer. Didn't look all that great. Who is the Black Panther? I guess that's the mystery going into this. I kind of wish they would have just retired the mantle and maybe came up with a new hero to tie into Wakanda. I know that would be difficult. I hope they do a big celebration of Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa within the MCU. Hopefully that's like the first 10 or 15 minutes of that movie, but there just wasn't another character in the Black Panther movie that I cared about other than Killmonger, and I'm pretty certain he's not the Black Panther. I didn't hate the first movie, but I wasn't blown away like other people. I thought it was kind of a middle-of-the-road MCU movie, which generally speaking has been a quality film in the past. We'll see what happens with this one, but the trailer itself wasn't all that exciting. Now let's get into Phase 5 and 6 of the MCU and some of the big plans and my thoughts on these. Phase 5 will kick off with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania releasing on February 17, 2023. The film sees Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly return as Scott Lang, Ant-Man, and Hope Van Dyne Wasp, respectively, as they take on Jonathan Majors' King the Conqueror. As you will see here in a few moments, King the Conqueror plays a big part in the future plans of the MCU. We've only seen the character in the Loki series on Disney Plus so far. I like the actor. I thought it was an interesting take on Kang, and I'm kind of excited to see what they do within the MCU. I've enjoyed both of the Ant-Man films so far. They certainly have a different flavor to them. I really like Paul Rudd as an actor, so I'll definitely check this one out. But I've never been really excited for an Ant-Man movie, and I'm still not that way here, even though we are getting this big bad King the Conqueror that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios have really big plans for moving forward. But that will be the beginning of Phase 5. Quantumania will be followed by Disney Plus series Secret Invasion, which debuts in spring of 2023. The crossover event series will see Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury and Ben Mendelsohn's Talos face off against a faction of shape-shifting Skrulls who have been infiltrating Earth for years. The series also stars Kingsley Ben-Adir, Emilia Clarke, Olivia Colman, and Kobe Smulders. I like Samuel L. Jackson. I like Ben Mendelsohn. I like the Krees and Skrulls. I think it's kind of weird to do this storyline without the Fantastic Four. That's really where all this stuff kind of began 60 years ago. So I would be more excited if this was playing out, I guess, initially at least, in the Fantastic Four movie. But, you know, the MCU on Disney Plus has just been so hit or miss for me, and it's been mostly missed. There have been a couple of things that I've really enjoyed. Is this must-see TV? Probably not, but I do like Samuel L. Jackson as fake Nick Fury, and I kind of like Kobe Smulders as one of the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hopefully they bring some of the standout characters that were in the TV show. You know, there were a couple of decent characters in there. I wouldn't mind seeing them here as well. We'll see how this one goes out. But this also doesn't get me too excited, but there are some projects I'm about to talk about that are going to get me very excited, because Marvel then kicks off the summer of 2023 movie season with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which sees the team once again tasked with defending the universe from a mysterious threat. Summer 2023 also sees the debuts of Echo and Loki Season 2 on Disney+. Ironheart follows in fall of 2023 with Agatha Coven of Chaos, which was previously titled Agatha House of Harkness, premiering on the streamer during winter of 2023. I'm not excited really for any of that stuff other than obviously the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm a big fan of that team. I think that James Gunn's take on that particular niche team works really well, even better than what he did with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker over in the DCEU. I'm a big fan of Chris Pratt. I like Dave Bautista. I like Zoe Saldana. I like pretty much the whole crew. You know, you got the voices of Vin Diesel and, I don't know, that wisecracking guy from The Hangover. I think it's a really good team. The visual effects are usually really good, and normally you get a really, really good soundtrack. So that'll be pretty interesting. Can't wait to see what part of the cosmic universe they're going to visit next. Hopefully it's one of Jack Kirby's really original creations we can finally see on the big screen. And then we get into the really interesting stuff. Phase 5 continues with The Marvels on July 28th, 2023, and Blade on November 3rd, 2023. This leads into 2024, which features an 18-episode Daredevil Born Again series in the spring, Captain America New World Order on May 3rd, 2024, and Thunderbolts on July 26, 2024. There are two things on the docket that absolutely pique my interest. I'm a huge fan of the Blade movies starring Wesley Snipes. We'll see if the new actor that they brought in to portray Blade within the MCU works out, but I'm pretty hyped about that one. I do wish they were bringing Guillermo back to direct it, and I guess that's still on the cards. They should bring him back because the second Blade movie somehow was actually better than the first. It's almost perfect. There are only a few superhero movies I personally think that are better than Blade 2. So hopefully this is able to live up to that. Maybe start introducing some of these more horror aspects that are in the Marvel Comics universe into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think that's really exciting. But the one that's really got my attention, 18 episodes of Daredevil, and they're doing the Born Again story. I think this could be very difficult because if you read Daredevil Born Again, that's pretty much a hard R story. Obviously, they're going to have to tweak a little bit to make it MCU and Disney Plus appropriate, but I do like Charlie Cox as the Daredevil. I don't think you could have cast a better Kingpin than Vincent D'Onofrio. I'm glad they didn't try to do that. And the Daredevil Born Again story from Frank Miller is just something that's so near and dear to my heart. You know, David Mazzucchelli on art. It's one of the 5 best comic stories of all times. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think it's the best thing Frank Miller ever wrote. A lot of the stuff Frank Miller created, especially in the 80s and 90s, really transfers well to movies and other mediums that play out because I think a lot of his story tropes are really relatable to common people. Daredevil Born Again will be difficult to pull off in the MCU and on Disney Plus, but there's so much great story there to mine that I think they're going to be able to pull it off. Do I think we're going to see Karen Page sucking dick for crack and giving up Daredevil's identity for crack? No, I don't think we'll probably see that, although it is a very important part of the Daredevil Born Again story in comic books. But I do think they'll be able to tweak it here or there, and I'm super duper excited to see Charlie Cox back full-time as Daredevil. I know what I've been told is that Echo series is pretty much going to be Kingpin and Daredevil with Echo as kind of a background character, but I don't give a shit about Echo. Get that character out of here. Give me 18 more episodes of Daredevil and give me the Born Again story. Are you kidding me? Absolutely over the moon. You couldn't have announced anything more exciting. In fact, of all the stuff they do announce, and I got some really cool stuff to talk about here in a second, this is the big one for me. This has got my mouth absolutely frothing. I wish it was on Netflix to where I think they could do the character more justice and the story more justice, but hopefully they pull this one off. Then Phase 6 will start on November 8th, 2024 with The Fantastic Four, which is yet to replace John Watts in the director's chair after he stepped down. This will be followed by 2 new Avengers films, Avengers The Kang Dynasty on May 2nd, 2025, and Avengers Secret Wars on November 7th, 2025. The Fantastic Four was one of the final 2 bullets left for the MCU to fire. Well, I guess they fired them both now. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But this is a really cool announcement. Obviously, Watts stepping away as the director is a pretty big loss. He did really well on those Spider-Man movies. But I think they'll be able to find the right director for this nice, cool family team-up book. It's all about the casting. Are we going to get Krasinski as Reed Richards? I think that's what everybody wants. I've heard some people say that they want his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, to play Sue Storm, the wife of Reed Richards, in the Fantastic Four. I guess I could go with that. But as long as Krasinski is in as Reed Richards, I think everyone will be happy. The real big thing is The Thing. You know, that's the heart and soul of the team. Hopefully they get that casting right as well. I thought Michael Chiklis as The Thing in those first 2 Fantastic Four movies that were atrocious was good casting. I don't think they got the right actor for The Thing in the reboot. So we'll see how that one goes. The big news, obviously, is the Avengers. We are, in fact, getting more Avengers movies, which I think is a really good move. I don't know what they were thinking, even considering not having more movies titled The Avengers. The Kang Dynasty, there's some ways that you can go with that one. I like Kang to a degree, but I don't love Kang. Avengers Secret Wars is the one that really sounds a little bit better. You know, Secret Wars is one of the most popular Marvel Comics events of all time for a reason. There are only so many Marvel stories that really stand the test of time. And in my opinion, Secret Wars is one of them. I hope that they go with the original and not with the sequel or the reboot that they did later on. Although I do know that Kevin Feige and people in Marvel Studios have been very impressed with Jonathan Hickman in the past. A lot of the elements he introduced into Marvel Comics were brought into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So it wouldn't surprise me if they went with the second one, but that would be a huge mistake. Go with the first one, the one that everyone loves. That thing was absolute crackerjack. Unfortunately, you won't be able to get the Venom story in Spider-Man after that because you've already got Venom, I guess, over there with Sony, and they probably don't have the rights to the character or whatnot. But there's a lot of fun stuff to do with Secret Wars, a lot of fights to be had, and that thing is pretty epic in scale. If you can't do World War Hulk, do Secret Wars. You know what I'm saying? I think there's a lot of cool stuff that Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios have announced here. Blade sounds great. We kind of already knew that one. Daredevil, Born Again, 2 more Avengers movies. Finally, a date when the Fantastic Four are arriving in the MCU. Still waiting to hear about the X-Men, although they kind of already blew their wad with introducing mutants for the first time. So there's definitely a lot of stuff there that I don't feel is can't miss, but there's definitely some stuff that I absolutely won't miss. But Marvel Comics absolutely whiffed and missed big time, introducing the mutants and the X-Men into the MCU, using Miss Marvel as the first mutant, the first X-Man. That was a huge mistake. Not because making Miss Marvel a mutant is a bad idea, it's the way they did it. Terrible mistake. They wasted an enormous opportunity to get some really good buzz.